do this, though. Let's start with prayer. How about that? You guys cool? Let's do that. God, thank you so much for, for bringing together just a room full of people who are interested in growing closer to you as they do business. God, we ask for your blessing over this time together and the rest of the day, and we just praise you for it in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Hey, how many of you guys think walking on water would be cool? If you do, say aye. Oh, that's so neat. If 3 of you would have said it, I'd have been like, that is a little bit weak and we're in trouble. There's a really cool story in the scriptures about that, but a lot of times when we hear that story, it's very important. Like we hear about like walking on water, like taking a step of faith. Everybody say faith. Faith. Yeah, walking on water is a pretty big leap of faith, wouldn't you agree? Unless you grew up in Michigan like me where it freezes and it's that thick, it'd be a pretty scary thing to do. But that story a lot of time gets focused on the failure of Peter. If you've looked at that nifty story in the book of Matthew, you see this happen. Peter goes on the water. Well, first, I guess let's back the story up. They just came from something really cool. 5,000 people get fed. Pretty cool day, yes or no? Yeah. Right, a whole bunch of people hanging out like, well, I guess it's time to send them home, but they're hungry. What should we do? Hey, I know, let's feed them. With what? With what, Jesus? What are you going to like? Great, you just talk to him for hours. Now what? And he's like, let's just give them lunch. What do we got? We got a couple of fish, a couple of Olive Garden breadsticks. What are we going to do with it? And so they feed 5,000. It's miraculous. And then he goes, all right, guys, hop in the boat. See you on the other side of the lake. I'm going to go pray for a while. So they get in the boat, and if you know the story, a storm comes. Anybody ever have a storm in your life? If you have, say, I have. Yeah, who hasn't? They suck. And it sucked for these guys too, because if you don't know a lot about Hebrew people, they are not water people. They are desert people. The water, underneath the water, if you do any study, the abyss, right? Jesus leads pigs into the abyss. It's scary. Scary stuff lives in the water if you're a Hebrew person. And all of a sudden, the storm comes and they see somebody walking on water. And what's their first response? Anybody know? Yeah, like, it's a ghost. So many people are like, why wouldn't they just know it's Jesus? He just did a miracle. Because they're on top of water and they hate water. Of course, it would be logical to be like, oh gosh, we're in the middle of a storm, everything's scary, and now there's somebody walking on it. Here we go. Like, could this day get any worse? But Peter, of all people, goes, hey. First, he's like, hey, calm down. It's just me, just taking a stroll in the lake, no big deal. And Peter's like, hey, if it's you. Everybody say, if it's you. See, how many times do we see something and it's scary and immediately we go, that's from the devil. That's a bad thing. This is going to ruin my day. But something cool happened. He goes, hey, if it is you. He stopped for a minute like, let me consider this. This might actually be Jesus. He did say it was him. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Hey, if it's you, tell me to come. Everybody say come. He said come, and what did Peter do? He goes, okay. The Chosen did a really fun job of showing the walk on water scene. If you've seen it, it's actually pretty fun. But Peter took a step of faith. Now, the crazy part is that is a good place to end talking about that if we just want some encouragement, right? You took a step of faith, and you got to be bold and take a step of faith like Peter. Cool. But then there's the rest of the story. Peter walks out, says, then he noticed the wind and the waves, and he started to what? Yeah. How many times have you taken a leap of faith in business or in life, and you were so excited and things didn't go your way? Has that ever happened to anybody in this room? And we start to sink. And you start to sink, and let me ask you this. When you start to sink, how do you feel about yourself? You feel good? You feel bad? Bad. Man, you get discouraged, right? So it seems normal. And so Peter got discouraged. What do? He's like, Jesus, help! And he's like, I got you. As a matter of fact, it said he cried out, and immediately, everybody say immediately. Immediately, he reached out to him. He didn't wait, be like, well, let me see if you really want my help. Let me make sure you really got your life turned around. You recognize how powerful I am. Then I'll help. No. It said he said, hey, Jesus, and Jesus was like, I'm right here. Got you. But to me, that's not even the best part of this story. And not even the biggest lesson that we can learn today from the story. Because there's so many good little nuggets in this one little story. But I'll read something to you guys. I highlighted it on the way over. Car was an autopilot, so don't worry. All right, so I'm going to read this little part to you. And he started to sink, and he cried out. I'm reading from the New English Translation. If yours says something different, that's okay. It says, he cried out, Lord, save me. And it says, immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him, saying to him, you of little faith, why did you doubt? Now, I don't know if you grew up in church or not. I grew up avoiding church for most of my, well, half of my adult life. Now I'm almost 48, so I guess I'm almost at the halfway point of me and God rolling together. But here's the crazy thing. So many times in my life I've heard, see, Peter doubted Jesus. He took his eyes off Jesus, and that's why he sank. And Jesus rebukes him in the boat. Hey, you have little faith. Why did you give up on me? But I want to challenge something that maybe gives you a different perspective. See, because when Peter was sinking, who did he cry out to? Jesus. Now, if you thought someone couldn't save you and you doubted them, would you ask them for help, yes or no? No. Like if I didn't think Dave could help me out in a pinch, I wouldn't be like, Dave, I need your help. I'd be like, this dude, he can't help me. Let me cry to someone who can. But see, Peter was sinking, he cried out to Jesus. So if you really look at the context of what's going on in the text, there's something interesting, but you'd have to kind of back up a little bit and understand rabbis. Jesus was a rabbi. And if a rabbi said, follow me, ooh, everybody say, follow me. Follow me. Oh, that's such a good set of words. A rabbi, woohoo, they would never, 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 never ask you to follow them unless they thought you could do what they could do. Never would a rabbi call you. As a matter of fact, when you were a little child going to good Hebrew school, you would learn to memorize Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. And then if you were good enough, you'd move on to the next phase. You'd memorize the rest of the Tanakh, the Ketuvim, the Nevi'im. You'd memorize all that stuff. And then if, and only if, a rabbi thought, you'll do better stuff than me. Because see, a rabbi was measured by the results of their students, if they became a better rabbi than them. So only then would a rabbi go, you are good enough to follow me. Now, quick question. How many of Jesus' 12 were working jobs when he called them? Say it again. Everybody say 12. 12. That means all 12 of them, a rabbi said to them, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you will never do what I do, you can't do it, you can't do it, you're out. So it's no surprise that when Jesus said, come, follow me, they went, okay. Finally, someone says, I'm good enough. Now, we got to understand that context to get back to Peter. And trust me, this also applies to your business life in a sec. But understanding that moment in the boat, whew, whole different meaning now, here we go. When Jesus said, oh, you have little faith. Let me say this to you in words you might understand. I've believed in you from the beginning. Why did you stop believing in you? Hear that again. I believed in you from the beginning. Why did you stop? Oof, oof. I don't know about you, but have you ever stopped believing in yourself? If you have, say I. Sometimes we need someone to believe in us, don't we? But you know what's cool? The story could have stopped there, but it didn't. And this is where this whole room full of people comes in. Because sometimes we will hang on these parts of the story and just leave them there because they're good. I like them. But the challenge is, sometimes in Christianity, we can lean into going, I just have a personal relationship with Jesus. It's about me and Jesus. I don't need anybody else. It's just me and Jesus. But that's actually not what Jesus said at all. Because if that was the case, he would have just picked one. Because it would have been just him and Jesus. But there's something else that happens after this moment. So let's just read real quick. You little faith, why did you doubt? When they went up into the boat, the wind ceased. Everybody say, ceased. That means quit. It wasn't until Jesus put him back in a community of people to be around him that the storm stopped. It didn't say Jesus pulled him out of the water and the storm stopped. It's an interesting thing. I don't know if you know this, but the writers of the scriptures are very intentional in how they do stuff. It wasn't until he put him back in the boat. Everybody say boat. It wasn't until he was back in the boat the storm stopped. But something else happened that I would argue is even more miraculous. Whew. Then those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, truly, you are the Son of God. Now, refresh my memory, but didn't they just see him feed 5,000 people with some breadsticks and a couple sardines? But it wasn't until they saw someone's personal failure, cry for help, and rescue that they went, that is how God works. That's how God does it. Now here's the deal. How does this apply to your business life even, right? Like you didn't just come here like, I didn't know we were going to church on Monday morning. We're not like 8th day Adventist, I don't know. I figure 7th day do it on Saturday, so maybe 8th day do it on Monday. Here's the thing. This is how it applies to your life. From this scripture, we can learn so much about how we interact with one another every day and the need for it. Because if Jesus just wanted Peter to get a lesson out of this and just wanted Peter's life to change, he would have pulled him out of the water and they would have appeared on the other side of Lake Galilee or Lake Gennesaret, whichever one of the Gospels you read. Same lake, not very big. But he could have just taken Peter and then it could have been like, and then Jesus and Peter had a special moment together. But there's a reason he put him back in the boat with the people he was walking on this journey with, I think. And I think the reason was they needed to see, even when Peter gave up on himself, that God hadn't given up. But also that Jesus hadn't given up. Because until that moment, they hadn't worshiped him. See, they gave Jesus a lot of lip service. They followed him around, and I would argue that they were loyal, but man, sometimes don't we just, we follow people because of what we get out of it. And it isn't just Jesus. We take a job, we find somebody. Dave is a powerful influencer, man. He's a great teacher. But sometimes we take a job for just what we can get out of it, and we forget we've got so much to give back, right? So sometimes we just look at it from that. But in this moment, they went, it's not just about what we get. Let me give you my worship, Jesus. See, here's the thing. And Jesus, what if this never would have happened? What if these guys never would have saw Peter take a risk and fail? What would they have learned? They already saw him do a miracle over here. Jesus did a miracle. They'd seen him heal people. But their perspective didn't change on him as a leader until they saw how he responded to someone who gave up on themselves for a minute. And he could have said, Peter, you are such a failure. You are such a quitter. You're off the team. Beat it. Now there's 11. We'll cast lots and find a 12th. But he didn't do that. Instead, he went, why'd you give up on you? And everybody went, whoa, whoa. You know what? You truly are the Son of God. Probably because look at it from a human perspective, man. When somebody screws up, when things go wrong in your life, how quickly do we just give up on people? There are so many lessons. Lesson number one, sometimes we just got to take a step even though we don't know what we're stepping into. And that's where we trust the people leading us. See, Peter goes, hey, if that's you, call me. Right? In business, we have to make a decision to trust the people that lead us. And if they say, hey, trust me, let's walk this direction together, we have to decide, am I going to trust you and take that step? And sometimes we're going to trust them and take the step, and we're going to get scared and we're going to screw up. But the cool thing is, I know who's leading this ship, and you guys have good leaders in place that will reach out and go, I got you. I got you. Why'd you give up? Why'd you quit so early? Why'd you stop thinking you could get it done? I got you. Let's walk together again. But the cool thing is, when you have that in a whole environment like this, I want you to hang on to one thing, if nothing else, from this today, and that is this. The actual miracles of this story, the actual life change, rather, of this story didn't happen until Jesus put Peter right back with the people he was walking with. Once they got in the boat, back in the boat, the storm settled. We've all been through storms. And truth be told, going through it alone really stinks. And you can go, well, when I go through it, I just like to hole up and it's just me and Jesus. Well, Peter was alone with Jesus in the storm, and Jesus didn't calm the storm then. He went, let's get you back with the people around you, and then we'll calm this down. So if you're this is a brand new month, yeehaw. But if you're going through some storms, these aren't just your coworkers. I mean, they are, but you're sharing life together. Heck, you spend more time together probably than you actually get to spend with your family and friends outside of work. Which is why in some great ways we become friends. And in some great ways, or not great ways, we become like a family, and sometimes we could rub each other the wrong way. You think 12 dudes walking around smelling that couldn't shower always got along? Probably not. Probably not. But you got 25, 30 people in this room that are walking with you. But it takes a couple steps, and I would encourage you to write these down or burn them in your head. Step number one, you got to be humble enough to ask the questions. Peter said, hey, if that's you, call me out. It's okay to ask a question with the right intention. Step number two, you got to be humble enough to recognize you don't know everything you're supposed to do. So at some point, you got to trust somebody to give you some guidance. Step number 3, you got to be willing to fail. You got to be willing to fail. And step number 4, you got to be willing to forgive yourself and realize just because you made a mistake doesn't mean you should give up on yourself. And the last thing to take away is this. If you're not afraid to fail in front of others, your failure may have a positive impact on their life and yours. Does that make sense to you guys? There's a good opportunity in these couple little verses to wrestle with that can change your perspective on life forever. Peter didn't fail. When Peter started to sink, he never failed for a moment. He just quit believing what Jesus already believed about him. God has put a calling in your life. Wherever you're at with him, whether you're like just stepping into like, oh, I'm checking out Jesus, or whether you've been walking with him your whole life, God's got a calling on your life. He never gives up on his calling for you. Let me say it one more time. God never gives up on his calling for your life. If you choose not to walk in it, you might be missing out on all the blessings he's got for you. But God will never give up on your calling. So whatever failures you've had, whatever times you've started to sink, whatever times you've given up, he didn't. Listen, I just appreciate you guys giving me this time. Listen, I hope this was valuable to you. I hope it gives you a new perspective on those days when you start having a rough day and you start sinking, that you realize, don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on yourself. Relief is coming, and the struggles you have in front of others give people an opportunity to see your growth and your change. And that is an amazing thing, whether you realize it in the moment or not. True story? Yeah. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you. Love you.